So welcome back to the channel, guys. As you can tell, this is not my room. I'm actually in the process of moving and it's been a crazy week, but I still wanted to get a lesson out to you guys. So there's boxes behind the camera and it's a mess. But real quick, what I want to mention is that even this idea for this lesson comes from one of the comments, Nick Schuler. So I'll put that comment right here. So Nick said, "Hey Chase, just purchased the new book, Loving These Master Lines. Would be cool to see a video regarding these new bebop lines. Do it using the G dominant so we can incorporate it into C major. Haha, I'm being selfish. Thanks again, Chase. FYI, the Master Arpeggios book has really opened up my playing, and combining with the prior Master 251 lines book and melodic minor lines is gold. See ya." Thanks, Nick, for the comment, and that is what we're going to tackle in this video. Anyways, in this lesson, what I want to go over is I want to talk about 4 different ways you can use my new book to improve your jazz guitar playing. So break it down into some 4 exercises. I'm gonna get some examples from the book. If you've already bought the book, this actually shows you some ways that you can take the book further and incorporate it into your own playing. The 20% off discount for the first 100 people, I think there's about 20 of them left. So if you guys wanna check it out, you wanna be one of the first 20 people before that goes away. So obviously I will do a whole studio video once I get that all set up. I may do a few videos in there next week before it is set up. It's gonna take me a little bit to fully set it up, but once it is, it's gonna look awesome. I have some great ideas for it. But let's get into the first example. So the first example is talking about how you can use this dominant bebop scale and some of the patterns there to jazz up your blues playing. Okay, so let's say we're on a G7, maybe this is a G blues, and we're playing some pentatonic type of ideas, right? We're on this G blues. We're just soloing over that. One way we can start to incorporate a jazz type of sound is playing over the changes. And one way we can get that sound of playing over the changes is really emphasizing these chord tones on our downbeats and just being very clear about where we're placing those chord tones. So I'm gonna take an example. This is one of the first shapes in this G7 arpeggio line for this dominant bebop scale pattern. Sounds like this, 3, 4. So the way I wrote it out is so that the line in position can be practiced as a loop. It's basically a repeated phrase that you can do. So it takes you ascending and then descending. And then of course we do it in the inverse as well. So we can take this full position and start to use portions of that dominant bebop scale in our blues soloing over G7. So say we're here, we're soloing. Okay, for example 2, I'm going to show you how within this book we can start to develop our own chromatic vocabulary. And the reason I say our own is because the combinations here are so numerous that it really starts to become a personal choice between which of these chromatic approaches you like to use. Now I put in the 8 most common ones I've found, and there's 4 ascending and 4 descending. And so we're going to look at an ascending chromatic approach for the 7th of the chord, and then a descending chromatic approach for the 5th. And what I'll show you is how we can then combine them. And this is just with 2. If we have a combination of 8, the math gets a lot bigger. I could do the math, but I'm not going to for the sake of this because I'm not sure that everyone is into that. Okay, so let's take the first one. So this is our ascending chromatic approach for the 7th. Pretty straightforward. We're targeting that F, which is the 7th of G7. Now let's target with the descending pattern, the 5th, which would be D. And that's our descending. Again, for all of this in the book, there's picking and fingering notation. I didn't put fingering notation for these chromatic approaches because depending on where you're coming from in the line and where you're going, it would change a little bit too much. So I left that portion blank, but the fingering is there for all of the full lines. Okay, so let's combine these two. What's cool about this is you can connect them basically like Lego bricks. And we'll do the first ascending chromatic approach, and then we'll do the descending one. And that sounds like this. We could also do it in the reverse order, where we do the descending one first and then the ascending one. That sounds like this. So again, I'm giving you the material there, like the raw information and some suggestions on how to practice that, but it really is up to your creativity to start to combine these with the other vocabulary you know and combine it within itself within the same chord shape, in this case G7. The third way this can help you out is by helping you extend your 2-5-1 lines. So say we have a short 2-5 where it's 2 beats for D minor, 2 beats for G7, and then a whole measure for C major. Well, we might play a very simple, just for demonstration, 2-5-1 line like this. But if we're dealing with a longer 2-5 where it's a whole measure for D minor, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, C major, right? If we have that longer 2-5-1 line, it would sound really corny if we were doing these as quarter notes, like, I can't even make myself do it. So what we can do is we can play that same 2-5-1 line and just play it for our G7. So it's basically our last measure before going to C major. And then our D minor chord in front of that, we play any of these G dominant bebop lines. And as long as we connect that into the start of our line, it works really well. So I'll give you one example, again, taking a portion of one of the shapes from the dominant bebop patterns in this position. So that would sound like this with a full longer 2-5. Let's do it at a little bit faster tempo. So I'm sort of teasing the next and last example, which is this will help you play some double time lines a lot easier. And this is because when we are dealing with our dominant bebop scales and patterns, we tend to extend our line since it's an eight note scale. And so if we incorporate some of those, and I'll show you some examples from our descending pattern, our descending line for this and our ascending line, we can really get some cool double time lines into our playing. So we might play something like this if we had 2 measures of G7. Okay, but it's a little bit slow. Like, what if we wanted to play a double time line over that when it's like this kind of medium tempo? That almost feels a little bit too slow. Well, we can just connect it to another ascending line and then double up the speed so that they're 16th notes instead of 8th notes. That would sound like this: 3, 4. So that's just some examples of how you can take the material within this book and make it your own, extend it and really get a lot out of what I've put into this book. Again, there's about 20 spots left, 20 discounts for the 20% off. And that's for the first 100 people. We've already had a bunch of people buy. Again, there's about 20 left. You can go to the description and check out the link for that. And all of the information you need for what I just played is in the book. So I will see you next week, hopefully from the new studio. It will be pretty bare bones, but we will get it looking good for you guys. And again, I appreciate all the support, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.